What's up, YouTube? Sergio Basura II here, my YouTube channel, Frankenstein at 1. And today I'm going to be doing something new. It's going to be a book review mini-series on books that I have read in the past and which I will review and explain. So, as you all know, I just recently did a video where I just self-published my very first horror novel, which I am holding right here, The Heir of Frankenstein. So, let me explain the whole story behind this book. So it takes place almost a century after Henry Frankenstein created the monster. So now his great grandson, Tom Frankenstein, now takes the charge of resurrecting his ancestors' creation back to life. As I explained in the last video, that this was based off the old Universal horror films. So let me go into detail right now. So what happened was Basil Rathbone's character, Wolf von Frankenstein, is on his deathbed, and he's telling his only son, Peter Frankenstein, to tell him and his family, don't make the same mistake as I did. In other words, don't create another monster. Soon as Wolf dies, Peter is made the new Baron of Castle Frankenstein, and he is now in charge of the family estate in Germany. So after his eldest son's university graduation and medical school, Tom, they take off for Germany, head to Castle Frankenstein, and there they meet their new housemaid, who is actually the granddaughter of Peter Frankenstein's old housemaid, Amelia. I don't remember the name of the actress who played Amelia in Son of Frankenstein. So once they settle in, and around in the later chapters around Christmas time, they're visited by the grandson of Dr. Dr. Severus Pretorius. He tries to persuade Peter into partnering with him and creating another being, and Peter has told him, no, I am not getting involved in creating monsters. So later on, when it's like midnight on New Year's, Tom Frankenstein is visited by the ghost of his great-grandfather, Henry Frankenstein. He explains to him that even though Tom is next in line to be the next Baron and is made heir to the family estate, Henry tells Tom, you're my true heir. I want you to bring back my creation, and I will tell you where it's at. So Tom agrees to bring his ancestors' creation back to life. So Tom and his little brother, Godric Frankenstein, they find a hidden chamber underneath the castle where the family burial vault is, and they find the monster on a stone slab, and all of a sudden, Severus Pretorius is right there. So they partner together in bringing him back, but Tom gets to take the charge in this, along with his brother and Pretorius behind him. So later on, the next night they sneak out of the castle with the monster's body, place it inside of a utility van, and take off outside the village, out in the countryside, where there's an old abandoned watchtower where they can set up shop, which Pretorius owns, just like Henry Frankenstein did in the original 1931 film, where he created his monster. So Tom, Godric, and Pretorius began reconstructing him again with a new brain, in which Pretorius created artificially by the secret of his own grandfather, and other organs to reassemble him with. Once that was done, the next night they finally resurrect the monster back to life. And Tom says the exact same line as Henry Frankenstein said in the film, which was, "In the name of God, now I know what it feels like to be God." The moment the monster was brought back to life. And then the next night they return back to the tower to finally see their ancestors' creation. So Tom and Godric are amazed by what has happened, and that the monster remembers everything from his past, from when Henry created him, Wolf Frankenstein reviving him as well, and now Tom is now in charge in the hopes of clearing the family name. But it all backfires because, unbeknown to Tom and Godric, Pretorius uses the monster to seek revenge on 3 university professors that originally fired him from the university because he kind of did the same thing as his grandfather and Henry Frankenstein. So now everything comes in full circle again with the family. That the villagers try to attempt to break into the castle and take out the Frankenstein family. So now Peter has Peter needs to think how this all happened and how to clear the family name. Try to explain that he didn't do any of this, even though the villagers suspect the monster was back and Peter Frankenstein may have had something to do with it. And then later on, the monster sneaks into the castle, attempting to kill the family. Luckily, Peter is right there, and he manages to get the monster to remember him when he was just a boy. The monster is all excited to see Peter Frankenstein, who was his old friend from when Peter was a boy. But then Tom and Godric come up from behind and start wrestling with the monster and try to bring it down. Assuming that Peter was about to get killed by the monster. So once the monster escapes the castle and Peter unharmed, thank God, Tom and Godric had to confess about what happened. So they had to admit that Tom and Godric were the ones that been sneaking out at night, along with Pretorius, to resurrect the monster. So now Peter is all shocked to hear what has happened. So he decides to forgive them because the castle itself has known to be haunted for a long time because of Henry Frankenstein's actions, and of course with the past as well, that everything else has happened. So now Tom again sneaks out of the castle behind his father's back again, and taking along the revolver that his grandfather Wolf had, which he shot Igor with. So he takes off out into the woods, back to the tower to confront Pretorius about what has happened. Pretorius admits to his crimes, so it leads into a fight between Tom and Pretorius, and then Tom takes out the gun, shoots him once right in the forehead, and Pretorius drops dead to the floor. And then the monster all of a sudden comes up the stairs, sees Pretorius on the ground, and now both Tom and the monster start fighting. Tom chases the monster out into the woods, and with the storm closing in on them. So Tom somehow finds a long piece of jagged metal, a long steel rod, impales the monster through his stomach, almost close to killing him, I should say. Sorry if I'm stalling here or something. All of a sudden, a bolt of lightning hits the rod, also electrocuting the monster badly. The monster catches on fire, falls over the cliff, and all of a sudden this large explosion happens at the very bottom. Therefore, Tom succeeds in killing his ancestor's creation, which finally clears the family name altogether, knowing that the curse has been lifted. Now, it's 20 years later. Tom Frankenstein, he's now married to the housemate that had been working with him, working for the family. Uh, his new wife is named Kim, like I said, who was the granddaughter of Amelia. Tom and Ken have 3 sons, and their eldest, Jason Frankenstein, takes off to London to study at the university, along with his uncle and aunt, which would be Tom's siblings, Godric and Crystal Frankenstein. Tom's now the Baron, so now he's in charge of the family estate after his father retires as the Baron and as a physician. And as their son's plane takes off, Tom reaches into his pocket and pulls out the electrodes that were once installed on the monster's neck to remind him of finally destroying the thing that has haunted the family for so long. Now, I wrote this because, I thought of this in high school, because at the end of both Son of Frankenstein and Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, there was a lot of questions like what happened with Wolf Frankenstein and his wife Elsa and their son Peter. I kind of had thoughts that they then returned back to the United States, but then decided to go into exile in London, and like I just mentioned right now with Abbott and Costello, I didn't believe at the end of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein the monster had fully died, even though you see the monster engulfed in flames as they try to escape him after getting into a confrontation with both 3 monsters, the monster itself, Dracula, and the Wolfman. I just didn't believe it. I just didn't believe it because if you watch the old films from the 30s and 40s, you know that monster has survived many times, and I didn't believe at the end with Abbott and Costello that the monster was fully destroyed. I do mention Abbott and Costello in the book, but I didn't use their real names. I used their character names that were used in the movies. Bud Abbott's character was Chick Young, and Lou Costello's character name was Wilbur Gray. Because if I would have used their names, then this whole thing would have been dead. And of course, both the Wolfman and Dracula are mentioned in it as well. So this is the review of my book. Halloween's almost approaching 1 more month. So if you guys are interested in a good horror novel for around October or right now, I'll leave the link in the description for you. So you can buy yourself a copy. You can buy it whenever you want. You can buy it on Amazon. It's only $16. So again, I'll leave the description down below. Yeah. So tell me what you think. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell and comment below and tell me what you think. Follow me on Instagram, Sergio Becerra II at Sergio Becerra 2. My email, SergioBecerra26 at yahoo.com. All right, this is the first video of my book review miniseries on some of the books that I have read in the past, and of course, I'll be doing other book reviews of books that I'm currently reading right now. So once I'm done with those, I'll talk about them and what I think about them. So this wraps it up. All right then. Take care now. Bye.